What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about some absolute peak builds in Battlefield 6, and since I get so many questions about why I use what I use on my weapons, we're going to be going through each and every one of them, explaining the little intricacies in my choices, and also going over some build variation that you can play with to fit your needs or your wants with all of these weapons. I've made quite a few weapon videos already, but I have to say a lot of them, in my opinion, are actually out of date because my school of thought has changed slightly on some of them, and there are much clearer paths and choices to make when building weapons now. But before we get into the video, unfortunately, I do have to give my respect to Vince Zampella, who tragically passed away. I mean, people are going to ask me about it, so I figured I would mention it in this video. I'm not going to be making a dedicated video on this topic. I don't think it's appropriate, but it's very clear. It's a very tragic situation. Vince Zampella was working on Battlefield 6. He was probably one of the lead visionaries of the game, and he created so many games that I played during my childhood, whether it be Call of Duty or Titanfall, and it just sucks, you know? The holiday seasons are coming up. Be sure to talk to your friends, talk to your family, because this world is crazy. So rest in peace, Vince Zampella, and let's get right into the video. Alright, getting into the weapon builds, I'm going to be covering specific weapons, and I have to emphasize the builds that I'm using for these specific weapons are tailor-made for that specific weapon. So the build I'll be going over for the M433 is because the M433 requires it. Same with the NVO, and same with the SG553R. But basically, these three weapons I'll be going over encapsulates full recoil control builds, like we see on the M433, a more aggressive but still versatile recoil control build that allows for faster ADS and just enhanced versatility, and then finally, a hyper-specialized build on the SG553R, encapsulating basically close range sufficiency while maintaining maximum accuracy and all that sort of stuff. So first, we'll talk about the M433, and this is a full recoil control build. I unequipped the barrel because I need to explain some things, but the core of this build is basically the classic vertical grip and the long suppressor. So there are a lot of questions that I have to answer here. People are going to be asking, why not the lighten suppressor? Why did you use, why don't you use the standard suppressor? So you have points to manage here, right? Which means using the long suppressor is going to save you 5 points as opposed to using the lighten suppressor. And the lighten suppressor has the same recoil control that the long suppressor has, but the long suppressor has a sway penalty. Now, the sway penalty, in my testing, just simply doesn't matter. At least not for the M433. So we can save 5 points by just going with the long suppressor. You're going to be using a suppressor anyway on pretty much every single build in this game because, unfortunately, the way the spotting works in game right now, suppressors are just must pick. I wish this wasn't the case. I basically haven't gotten to play with any of these muzzle brakes as a result, but it is what it is. Maybe we will see changes to spotting and in-world spotting in the future. That's why I went the long suppressor. And then I went with the classic vertical because, you know, you might notice we have 10 points. Why didn't I go for the low stubby profile, which gives you an ADS increase? The reason why I didn't is, again, this is supposed to be the max recoil control build, and we can use these other points for other things in the build, which are very important. So what I've learned is these bars on the right here are actually the gospel. If it says it has less recoil control, it actually seriously means that, and you can feel it in-game. Same with precision, same with mobility. These bars do appear to be accurate for the first time in Battlefield, which is great. Obviously, we need hard data mined stats and everything, but the reason why I went with the classic vertical is it's the highest recoil control grip you can get while still leaving points available for other important things in the build. The 45-point grip is just too expensive for its own good and really doesn't add anything, you know, that special. You get 50 milliseconds of ADS time, but with the way this game plays, you're going to be aiming down sights on corners a lot. Anyway, so that's why I went with the classic vertical grip. Oh, and the low profile stubby has the same recoil control as it, so 10 points doesn't get you more recoil control. So we have 10 points left in this build, and this is where your specific needs come into play here. People are going to be quick to point out, Enders, the classic vertical, has an ADS accuracy penalty while aiming down sights and moving. Yes, it does, which is why I left 10 points available in the build for the light barrel. This essentially cancels out the aim down sights accuracy penalty from the grip. So basically, these two cancel out. So you have a base accuracy M433 with all of the recoil control benefits. Now, let's say you don't really care about canceling out that accuracy penalty. You understand the M433 is going to be a close range weapon. There are other things you can do in this build. You can go ahead and fit extended barrel for enhanced velocity and 30 round fast mag. That is a build I see people using quite a bit, actually. You can unequip all of this, and you can just go straight up for a 36 round magazine, depending on what you want. Or you can even just slap a laser on here. Green or red, depending on what you want. Green has more hipfire benefit, but is visible to the enemy. Red, honestly, I think is better than the green laser because I've noticed lasers give you away way too much in this game. I'm starting to think if you can avoid using visible lasers, you probably should, depending on the use case of the weapon. So there's a bunch of different ways you can go ahead and set up this build. I personally like using light barrel, but I can easily see the argument for extended barrel fast mag. Again, huge personal preference. A lot of this stuff is going to be up to you. Now, a more aggressive / versatile version of this build I use on the NVO. Reason I use this on the NVO is I find the NVO to just be a more comfortable, less unruly version of the M433. And I suppose I'll shoot this build, actually. I forgot to. It really tames the M433's recoil. But this build on the NVO is meant to basically be a more aggressive version of that recoil control build. So we have the long suppressor again. We have light and barrel for increased movement accuracy. This has no penalty to aim down sights accuracy from the grip, so we just get straight up benefits on this weapon. And I'm using a red laser because I don't want people to see my laser. I have 200 millisecond ADS time here, so this is really good in close quarters. And because this is the NVO, I'm using this build, and I care about ADS time because it has a 3 BTK range. It's one of the fastest killing assault rifles in the game. And really, you should only be using the NVO in close to mid-range because past mid-range, it's kind of shit. So that's the reason why I'm using this build. It consists of, once again, long suppressor, light barrel, angled grip, red laser. There are other things you could do with this. Like if you don't find you need the added accuracy, you can, of course, just go with the extended 30 fast. That shaves off quite a bit of reload speed there, and this might even be best in slot, but I find not having to burst as much with the light barrel is actually super useful, plus the velocity of the NVO is 671 regardless, so I find it doesn't really need the extra velocity in my opinion. This build is extremely accurate. Now, moving on to a build that I already made a video on, but this covers another sort of thought camp, if you will. The SG553R. So, this build is unique because basically it takes advantage of the maximum amount of moving accuracy you can gain. And I use this on the SG553R because the SG553R is a weapon that has nuances to it, right? It doesn't really need that much recoil control, and you're going to be using this weapon in close quarters anyway. So why not increase its accuracy a ton while also increasing its hipfire a ton and basically giving it no downsides. And I found out that lightweight ammo apparently increases your strafe speed by 10%. So this build is basically a close quarters, beam everything, strafe build, if that makes sense. The synergy, or the core synergy here, is blue laser plus light barrel. Light barrel increases your accuracy while moving, and blue laser increases your hipfire accuracy and your accuracy while moving. These effects stack, and it is significant. And I think the SG-553R is probably one of the best weapons for this, because as you can see, even with no recoil control on the entire build anywhere, it doesn't really have any fucking recoil. I mean, even after the nerf, it's relatively unaffected. Lightweight ammo is really a personal preference thing. If you want, you can unequip that, and you can go for, you know, mag catch to further increase that reload speed. You can even go for long suppressor if you want a little bit of recoil control. That would be fine as well. So there you have it. This is basically the way to optimize weapons in Battlefield 6 right now. I guess we'll go over one more weapon in this build. We'll probably do the DRS. Getting into the DRS, I have two builds for you guys. This gun is so good that it can actually be kind of confusing to build because, I mean, you slap anything on it and it pretty much just destroys everything. So I have a build that utilizes heavy extended barrel, and then I have a build that utilizes light barrel with no laser. Reason being is, for this build in particular, the one you're looking at, the DRS is a weapon that I consider to be one of those weapons that you post up with. You're going to be aiming down sights a lot. You're going to be aiming at corners a lot. So it's a weapon that you might not want a visible laser on. And this gun's basically best served purpose is to basically just post up and beam everything, hit every single shot. Just be extremely accurate, even at range. So that's what this build does. I'm using long suppressor, light barrel for that better movement accuracy, slim angled for better recoil control, draw speed, and it has no downsides, fast mag, and rail cover for better draw speed. This is going to be for the people that really don't want the laser to be visible. Now, if you want a build that tries to utilize pretty much everything, this is what I came up with. This build utilizes heavy extended barrel and blue laser. So what you basically get is you get a weapon that is not only more accurate while moving while aimed down sights, you have better hip fire on top of that, and you have the accuracy benefit of the heavy barrel, increasing accuracy over prolonged periods of firing. So you're more accurate while moving for longer because of the heavy barrel. And of course, you get that extra velocity as well, taking this all the way up to 900 meters per second. The biggest downside is really the laser's visible. That's really the biggest downside. In terms of the other attachments, I went for long suppressor here, hand stop for weapon draw speed and ADS time. I went with fast mag, and then rail cover for faster draw speed. Yeah, this thing is fucking crazy accurate with blue laser heavy barrel. So there you go. These are the two builds that I came up with for the DRS. Hope you guys enjoyed the other builds as well. Rest in peace, Vince Zampella. Thank you for giving us Battlefield 6 with your vision. It's just a terrible situation, isn't it? So, I appreciate you guys watching. Hope you guys have a safe holiday season. And if you enjoyed the video, hit the sub button, hit the like button. I'll see you guys later.